Is going to get any better, but it's not been called. Well, stumps hasn't been called out yet.
Hi everyone, this is Norman Kochnick here for Eyes on Cricket with Norman Kochnick. And yes, we've had one hell of a day once again, day two. Unfortunately, we had a passing of Shane Warne overnight, along with Rod Marsh yesterday, and it certainly rocked the cricketing world. Most players from the Women's World Cup to the matches in India versus Sri Lanka and Australia versus Pakistan have all had black armbands on there for the passing of a legend. One of only 5 players that were in the Wisden team of the century, or players of the century. Of course, that was Shane Warne, the likes of well, certainly Jadeja was meticulous as well, masterclass. But yeah, Shane Warne, obviously Bradman, Garfield Sobers, Sir Garfield Sobers, Vivian Richards, and Sir Jack Hobbs. They're the 5 players. But anyway, let's turn our attention to what happened here today. Well, first and foremost, India versus Sri Lanka. India have played dramatically well, especially Ravindra Jadeja, who has scored 175 not out in swashbuckling style. He's an absolutely majestic cricketer. Not only is he a great bowler and an amazing fieldsman, his batting was superb, scoring 175. No other team could get 100 except for Punt going close. And India have proven to be incredible in their performance. They've left Sri Lanka to bat. The Sri Lanka are actually 4 for 108. By no means with Jamuth Karunaratne getting some 28 runs and Ashwin taking 2 wickets in that 4 for 108 scoreline. The interesting thing there is that the scoreline that actually India have put together is quite incredible. Some 8 for 574, and that was predominantly due to a 175 by our man Jadeja at the end there, that not out, that he brought the score up to 8 for 574. And that was quite an impressive performance for the Sri Lanka 408. Certainly not out of the game yet, but they're certainly going to find it very hard to go from that position to go anywhere near the 578 that's been set by India. That's one game. The other game, absolutely magnificent batting by the Pakistan team to be able to get and they really did charge ahead with their score. And incredible, the batting performances of both Asar Ali and of course, Imam Ul-Haq. Now, their performances have been absolutely sensational. And let's spend some time there. Obviously, Shafiq was 44 out on night. Imam Ul-Haq went on to score 157 today. And a magnificent performance, with Azhar Ali scoring a magnificent 185. Supported by Babar Azam, who's run out for 36, and of course, Mohammad Rizwan contributed 29, with Iftikhar Ahmed on some 13 not out. So Pakistan were 4 for 476. And the declaration, they probably could have went further on, but they decided to give Australia a bit of a bat, but it didn't last for long. The weather, more so the light, prevented Australia batting very long. They only batted some, how many overs was it? It was only a handful. It was only, in fact, it was just the 1 over. And Usman Khawaja hit a 4 off that, so he was out, not out 5, with Warner not out 0, having only batted for 2 balls. So yes, Shafiq 44, of course, amazing. Imam Ul-Haq with a magnificent one. If you could OEW off Cummins. Azhar Ali, eventually we're trying to push the run rate along, got 185, got out to a Labuschagne, fairly ordinary delivery, and scooted up to Cummins. But yeah, Imam Ul-Haq, a magnificent 157 off 358 balls, a really superb performance. He really did take, especially he took to line quite considerably, but he was supported admirably by. So the partnerships are amazing. The opening partnership was 105. The second week was 208, and then a further 102 odd for the Babar Azam partnership with Ali. So they had a century partnership, double century partnership, and a further century partnership. Hence the score was magnificent, with some 4 for 476. Superb. I would like to have seen 500, but it didn't happen. And then you have Australia facing one over with them for 5 before the weather stopped play. So Pakistan in command there, even though they probably batted a bit slower. They were 1 for 245 overnight. So they added a further 231. Lost 3 wickets. Could easily have done a bit better than that. It's the highest score Pakistan opens against Australian Test cricket. Taslim Arif got 210 back in 1980. Azhar Ali got 205 in Melbourne on 16 in fact. Khalid Ibadullah got 166 in 1964, the year I was born. And then Imam Al-Haq, 157. Mohsin Khan got a couple of centuries. So Anwar Muhammad, Mohsin Khan again, and Amar Sahel. So Imam was the 4th highest opener's score. Quite impressive. I started a bit early.
Yes, why?
How are you, Mohsin Sheikh? Mohsin's been fantastic so far with it. Everything he said has been on point. And look at this scoreline. Pakistan 4 for 476. Magnificent centuries from Azhar Ali, as we predicted, 185. Got out to a shot that Labuschagne can't claim to be his bowling. And certainly Imam Al-Haq, 157. 2 magnificent scores. Babar Azam was unfortunately run out, but Rizwan and the like, with Iftikhar Ahmed put on a partnership towards the end, though. They could have went longer. They batted well. They batted a little bit slowly today in the end, didn't they?
I agree with you. First session was a little disappointing because they could have got a bit of move on. But to credit to Australian bowling attack, they bowled stump to stump. They attacked the ball. 80% of the deliveries were hitting stumps, which they missed the trick on day one. But today you saw the ball reversing as well. They looked after the ball really well. This second new ball, they've gone through the period and then started to reverse. So I think first session was key to Australian bowling, and they did bowl well. And that's the reflection. I think the losing of we lost 15 overs or something today due to bad light. They'll start early tomorrow to try and make some of the lost time. But having said that, they should have gone on a little bit quicker earlier on, and post tea could have been bowling. So, but yeah,
105, 201, several partnerships than that. Really magnificent. I mean, to me,
100.
Excellent. Look, okay, they didn't score as fast as that. That may well be the case, but actually, it looks like Alim Dal has just called the game off for the day. Bad lighting. He's just wandering over, having a bit of a chat to the teams. There's a match referee still at the middle, but I don't think they're going to be returning.
No,
you can't complain when you get 4 for 476. Come on, that is magnificent. Well,
especially against the likes of Cummins, Hazelwood, Stark, who bowled over 20 odd overs, Lyons bowled over 40 overs, 12 hard, 2 days solid in the field. There'll be some sore legs, some tired bodies tomorrow. It'd be interesting to see when Shaheen's got this new rock in his hand. Naseem Shah will run in hard for the first few overs, and then the spinners will get into works. The ball is already skidding, staying low a little bit, and turning. Obviously, first over from Pakistan, the ball was already turning. But it'd be interesting how the likes of Shaheen and whatnot will bowl tomorrow. They've got to attack stumps. They can't be just 2 sides of the pitch as Australia were day one, session 1, and allow Pakistan to get on and build a partnership and leave what they call in cricket is decision leave, where it's play and miss, or you have an easy leave. So most of the time in first session, Pakistani batters had an easy leave because they didn't attack the stumps earlier on, and they could leave the ball easy. And as you know, Norman, as if you're batting, you have time spent in the middle. You leave the deliveries earlier on. You have your mind is already set, and then you can start playing your shots. And that's exactly why Pakistan got the 100+ partnership with the openers and whatnot. And that's what Pakistan bowling attack had to be really spot on to make sure that they make the Aussie openers play and attack the stumps.
I mean, both Rizwan and Iftikhar, when they went out to bat, they showed us something that I think the Pakistanis should take some strength of. It was not easy to come in that middle order and suddenly start attacking. They struggled. The bowling was okay. You can claim the bowling was the reason for it. I think even though the wicket's about a friendly wicket, it's not easy to get in there and just go for it from start. The ball's not necessarily coming onto the bat that freely, and it takes a bit of adjustment, even though it's more in a batter's favour. The way that Pakistan went about their batting, albeit somewhat slow, was excellent. They know their conditions. My concern is with Australia now. They've only faced one over. Someone like Khawaja's got the temperament, but I'm concerned up front with the Australian batters, whether they got that patience to actually grind out the way that Azhar Ali does so well. He knows his conditions, and he batted with great certainty, never was rushed, and he really, to me, is an incredible example of how they should bat. Imam Al-Haq as well, but definitely the steering of the ship came from Azhar Ali. He basically, having been a former captain, he knows what to do with these conditions. Yeah, so honestly, I still think that even though they didn't get the 500 mark, which I thought was the mark they needed, 470 on 6 not far away, we really are now going to look at a situation where can Australia have the patience out there to do what the Pakistani batsmen did? Exactly. Some of them, maybe a Khawaja and the like, I would argue, that's their style. I don't know whether it's the style of most of the other batsmen, to be honest. Warner will find it hard. I mean, Warner has batted well. I remember his game in Tassie one year where he got 123. He batted from opener right through to the. He was not out at the end, and he showed a lot of grit and determination there. And we're going to need that sort of performance for him, I think. And Khawaja, I think, will lead the way. I still believe that very strongly.
Yes, agreed. I think the if you look at the top order and middle order, they all like to get on, and even likes of Marnus and Smith, they want to keep the game moving. They would not be playing what the innings like what Azhar did. He took his time and he batted really well, grinded out when the ball was reversing, and played line really well. So as you said, it'd be interesting the stroke making when the ball is turning, and obviously we've seen the balls already reversing. So when the ball start to reverse and spin, how much patience come out of the Warner, Smith, and Marnus Labuschagne. So it's really I think it's a telling of a character come tomorrow.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to. I mean, I may be proven wrong, but I don't think Australia's going to match the Pakistan batting numbers. Just have this feeling it's not going to happen that way. If it does, it'll be a draw. But I've got a feeling we might see a few more frustrating dismissals occurring, especially from people like Labuschagne, Head, and to a lesser extent, but also Green. Steve Smith, to me, is a key. He has got the ability to be there, and so is Khawaja. They'll be suited to these conditions, but we'll wait and see how they go. Now, Gab, let's just turn our minds for a minute to the India-Sri Lanka match. Geez, Ravindra Jadeja's 175 not out. He just went crazy, didn't he, towards the end there? He was brilliant.
I thought he batted, and again, it's a reflection of how his partnership with Pant yesterday reflected his confidence. He was really onto it. Even start of the day when we talking earlier on with the start, him and Ashwin put a really good partnership. Ashwin again got some runs, but Jadeja will stand out. His stroke making, his ability to take the game out was just phenomenal, and the confidence he got from yesterday reflected in today and in his bowling as well. So I think that innings took the game away, and that moved the game so quickly as well. All of a sudden, there's 570 odd runs on board. There's only one result that I can see from this game now is India winning, because the game has moved so much in day two. India, with Sri Lanka losing 4 wickets, the 16 wickets have already gone down, and it's only 100 and something on the board for Sri Lanka. I think the game has moved quite dramatically in India.
Oh, look, I can't see India batting again. I think that Sri Lanka will fall well short on both innings and probably give them an innings victory. That's my prediction for that match. Look, I'm just watching Foxtel in silence here, and Mark Taylor's on there with Kerry O'Keefe. Look, it's hard to believe that they got Shane Warne in the background there on the walls. I think, why are they talking about him for? He should be coming out and being a guest host on the show. Well, he's not. It must be bizarre for those guys because they're sitting in the studio where only days earlier Warne was next to them, and here he's not here.
That's
I
right.
had a talk to Debash's son, who's a noted Indian journalist there in Kolkata. He wanted me to talk a bit about the Shane Warne statue down in Melbourne. I don't want to cast aspersions. Please don't take it this way. But are we that certain about how the way he died? I'm still scratching my head how a man of 52 could suddenly have a heart attack without any known health conditions in his family. He had a big night, obviously, in Thailand, so we don't really know what took place. And I hope, and I hate to say it, I hope there's nothing being either covered up or not being told here, because we know what Shane Warne is like. We know he's always had a life of controversy in a positive way. How are we? I'm not so certain as to how quickly that they were talking about bringing the body back tonight or tomorrow morning. Well, that's awfully rushed.
Yeah, the thing is, I was listening to his manager this afternoon on Fox as well. He was saying that he was in touch with Warney and he was going to have 6 months or so off. So he was having a holiday there, and they were planning to have drinks at 5 o'clock local time, where his friend was waiting, and it was 15 minutes later he went to knock on his door and there was no response. So they forced themselves in. And Warney was not responsive, so they tried to do the CPR, call the ambulance.
His manager, yeah, it was his manager, wasn't it?
That's right. Yeah. So I
don't want to cast aspersions, but things are just there's not enough going on to tell me they've been thorough. I don't know. I just get a feeling it may be. I don't know. I'm hoping there's nothing behind it, but yeah. Anyway, it's just hard to believe that a person that young would die so easily. Something they're showing the man now. He's called a talent manager. James, what's his last name? I'm just trying to pick his. I've never heard of the guy before, to be honest. Have you?
What's his name?
James Erskine.
Yeah, that's his manager.
His name is a talent manager.
Yeah,
I'm not sure what that actually means. I think he's the same manager that also represents Dave Warner, because Candace. Right.
Yeah, he actually looks after Shane Warne's cricket academy, Star Cricket Academy as well. So that's where he's got that talent manager, James Erskine. So he used to manage Shane Warne, so all his playing life and in his media life as well. So.
Well, he has that gin business, and then he turned it into a sanitizer business overnight. He's worth a good 50 million plus. But I'm looking at James Erskine. I hate to be suspicious, but I'm a little bit by nature. James Erskine's talking more a matter of fact, the way he's talking. If he was the one that performed CPR to him, he doesn't look devastated or distraught, seeing it's the same day.
No, he was in Australia. Shane Warne was there with his friends, so he was the first point of contact. So this is like a repeat of show from this afternoon where Fox has interviewed him and he was telling the story how he was contacted once Shane Warne was not responsive and he was taken to hospital in International Hospital in Thailand. So he was the first point of contact by the friends. So then he brought the news to the family.
Okay, I won't go on with that one, but we've got certain fans here. Irfan Ali wants to join the show. Now, if anyone seriously wants to be a guest host, and Baram Irani, who was on yesterday after you, Mosen, was in fact just that, and he's been fantastic. So I'm welcoming Irfan Ali. Go to my Instagram account, which is at Norm Koch. Send me your details and we'll have a chat, and maybe you will come on in the future. I'm more than happy to have people come on, especially if they provide a great perspective. By all means, Irfan Ali and anyone else who wants to go to my Instagram account at Norm Koch and we'll have a chat. I'm quite happy to entertain that thought. Yes. All right. So again, the Sri Lankan batsman Thirumanni and Kularatne the batting batted steadily, but not with much finesse. They got out relatively cheaply to both Ashwin and Jadeja.
And the worst part that I didn't enjoy with Sri Lankan batting, they had a good partnership, they had a good start, and then they lost the two openers, and then very unfortunate dismissal with Angela Matthews as well. It was both the impact and the calls. Both calls went with the umpire call, so that was an unfortunate dismissal there. And then the fourth wicket was again, it was not needed. So losing 4 wickets towards the end of the day, I think that's, you could live with Sri Lanka being 2 for 125 or 2 for 130 going into day 3, but 4 for 100, I think it's pretty much game over. Not good, no.
I mean, I'd love to see my good old young mate there, Naroshan Dickwella, who I've known since he was a kid, who actually played with. I took a cricket tour with this Baba Surja. We went on a regular tour.
Mm-hmm.
Lance Rudenko, does that name ring a bell?
Yes.
Do you know Lance?
Yeah, I know Lance. Yeah, he still does a lot of private coaching and whatnot.
Yeah. Well, we went on a cricket tour together for many years to Sri Lanka, and we brought a team there. And we had a guy, Jared something, I can't remember his name now. He was a fast bowler with great potential from up northern Queensland. We had Ben Dunk, Berrick Barnes. We had even Ben Cuddy and a few others were on the tour. And we would go there, and we once came across a young kid playing for Trinity College. He was 14, looked about 12 or 10, and he was opening the batting, and this Jared was opening the bowling. Anyway, he was bowling good 135 clicks. And this Russian Dickweller, right? He's opening the batting, a little kid, left-hander. He's practicing a slog sweep shot. Anyway, he faces the first ball, practices the shot while the bowler's running in, and then when the ball is delivered, actually hit the ball for 6 in the first balls of the over. And I'm thinking, where the hell's this kid come from? And he absolutely slaughtered us. And he was barely big enough to be over the stumps. And his mother and father, I met him after the game, and I said, "Oh, you batted well, son. You look like great talent." His mum and dad found out that I had a chat to him and thought, "Oh, I'm his ticket to Australia." So his mum and dad come after the game later on, gave me all these Sri Lankan little presents, and sat me down and says, "Take my son back to Australia, please, please, please. We want him to have a great." I said, "What are you doing? He's 14, and he's in Sri Lanka. Let him say that he could play for Sri Lanka one day." And what happened?
He
played for Sri Lanka. He's playing right now. So it was quite an interesting story, and I watched him, and I was so proud of him when he eventually played for Sri Lanka. And in his first innings, he almost got a century, actually, too. Hasn't done so since. Yeah, so it was quite a moment. So anyway, India's going to smash Sri Lanka now. They're well on a set. But this match here, do you think between Pakistan and Australia, will there be a result?
Look, it will. I think it will determine. There's a bit of a weather around as well. There's chance of showers over the next couple of days, but I don't think that will affect that much. The only thing that I would again concern, if it stays cloudy, you're going to have a little bit of bad light come into play. So there's shortened days, but what it is important that how patient Australia bat tomorrow. If they go after their stroke making, because the ball will be turning tomorrow, it'll be reversing tomorrow. If you're going to play your big booming drives and trying to take on Pakistan, I think you will be in a lot of hurt tomorrow. So that's the challenge. Tomorrow we'll set it up. If Australia bats well tomorrow, the game's draw. I don't see a result in there. But if Pakistan bowl well, they attack the stumps, they keep the spinners keep the lines and the lengths tight. I think Australia will get impatient, as we've discussed earlier. They'll play big shots and they'll get themselves out.
Now, there's a comment here from Ramiz Malik saying Pakistan played way too slowly, like the match was going to last 10 days. Well, I actually wouldn't mind it lasting 10 days. I'd love to see the old timeless tests when they used to bat. That's incredible, because you'll see some amazing. That really is a war of attrition, then, isn't it? If you bat all day, if you bat for 4 days straight, it would certainly upset the other side a lot.
Exactly.
I know. I wouldn't mind a game where it was
no, of course.
Battle.
I tend to agree and disagree. I think first session I agree that they batted really slow. They could have rotated the strike a bit more. But then come second and third session, as you saw when Rizwan came in, he could not get going because the ball was reversing. It was staying low a little bit, and it was really hard to get underneath the ball. So as the ball got older, it was harder and harder to score runs. The newer ball will be nice to come on bat because it won't be swinging as much. So they did miss a trick in the first session when the ball was harder. But as the ball got older, you saw how hard it was for a new batsman to come in and take the game on, because that's the nature of the pitch and the nature of the conditions as well. So yeah, 50-50, I would say Pakistan could have been at this point by tea. But again, this is what we have. Bad luck did come in play. If they had another hour now at Australia, I think they would have taken 1 wicket with them.
Will they start earlier, or will they stick to the start? Start earlier?
Yeah, half an hour early, and then.
Well, that's good. I'm glad.
Yeah.
Oh, that's going to be excellent. Look, what they're asking you, what are your thoughts about Rawalpindi pitch? Not doing much for the bowlers, and batsmen could not get the run rate a bit higher. Well, it's a classic test match pitch, if you ask me. I love these sort of pitches because it shows the grit of a batsman and the sturdiness of a bowler. I rather like it. I think there's nothing better than seeing a batsman grind out a century, as did Ashraf Ali. I just don't think Australia's in that mode. They're underdone. They haven't had a practice match. It affected South Africa when they went to New Zealand. It's affected most sides around the world when they haven't had a practice match. And I think Australia are going to suffer a little bit here. I'm saying that with great reservation in a way, but with Warner there and Khawaja, I think Khawaja is the one that could be the one that could break through, and maybe Steve Smith. But the rest of the batting lineup are going to struggle, especially if they lose wickets and they're meant to go in there. As the great example was Iftikhar and Rizwan. Rizwan couldn't hit off the square.
Could not get. He
They
could.
were very experienced in those conditions. PSL.
Exactly right. And the pitch. Look, people will talk about pitch at the end of the Test match, and they say it's a flat road. It didn't do much for the bowls. I think it did enough, because you saw even Green was reversing both ways when it started to go. So I think the conditions do support the bowlers, but you have to bowl in the right areas, which Australia didn't do in first innings. First day, they bowled bit too wide in first session, then they gone a bit too short, as we discussed yesterday. They went short stuff to both the batters in second session, but they didn't bowl full enough. In pitches like this in Pakistan, you got to be erroring on a fuller side rather than on a shorter side, and allow the ball to do the reverse. And that's what they did today. The adjustment was there from day one to day two. If you look at the pitch maps, 80% of the deliveries in first session were hitting stumps. So that's why it was really hard to score runs. So, and then second session onwards, it started to reverse. So it was really hard to get going. But if you look at the similar conditions in India, the ball didn't reverse for Sri Lankan bowlers. So it was really, once the ball got older, it was happy time for Jadeja and Ashwin to build that partnership, and then Jadeja cashed on. So it's different kind of condition compared to Mohali. So again, I think it was a very balanced day today as per Australian bowling is concerned, and credit goes to the batters. They didn't lose their passion. Azhar Ali was fantastic. He would have scored 200 if they were not putting pressure under him to hurry up with the runs, because he would have scored 200 easily. He didn't look like get out, did he? So,
okay, to me, I'm intrigued by tomorrow. I think we're going to see. I don't think we're going to see a replicated innings. I don't think we're going to. I think Australia are going to struggle purely because they haven't had match practice. It's going to be, and the fact they've been out in the field for 2 days, it's going to wear them down somewhat. I believe that will be the case. It'll be a rather difficult time. I've just noticed again they're showing the Shane Warne statue here outside the MCG. Isn't it intriguing? The man was still alive and they're having statues. I mean, Lily has one as well. But it's just amazing to see such a thing. And the Shane, I actually have a story. I have two. I actually bought a memorabilia when there was a great framed picture of both Morley and Warren together when they were close to their ends of their records and they were up there, and that was produced. I was sent one, and then the next day a second one came, so I ended up getting two. And I didn't know what to do with it. I said, I'll keep them. I have them now, and they're cherished possessions. And I think we're going to anything from Shane Warne is now worth its weight in gold, isn't it? Because you're not going to get it again, that's for sure. And you hear the stories about Shane Warne, where how generous he was, and he is very well loved. When it comes down to it, we saw Michael Vaughan crying, we saw Glenn Maxwell crying. A number of the Foxtel people are actually quite distraught. When he was either he loved or hated you. If he didn't think of you, he left you alone. But if he loved you, he was, as I told you before, when he engages, he talks to you. Although my experience with him, did I tell you the full story of my life? Yes, I did, didn't I?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. I'm not sure I told him on air, but yeah, he's a real character. But you know what? He was pretty bloody honest.
He was the rock star of cricket. Oh, you got to give him that. And that's why when people talk about him not being part of our lives anymore, everyone's still shocked that he's gone too early. But he's lived a life of 100-year-old man. He's done pretty much everything that you could dream of. He's the Bollywood of cricket. He's the Hollywood of cricket, whatever you call. He's one of those guys that every cricketer cherish how much he's done with the game while he was playing and outside. He's had all his issues and dramas and whatnot, but all given, he was just larger than life character. And that's why it's so hard for people to go, hang on a tick, 52, he's gone. We're not going to see him anymore. So it's just such a shock. It's just such a calamity to deal with. It's a loss that everyone's just not prepared themselves. You don't. When Elvis was gone, we talked about this morning. People didn't believe it. We didn't want Elvis to go because it was part of every household. Everyone loved him, and the character, the fashion, the music. It was just not one thing. It was the entire life of that person, because everyone could just follow his fashion. The sideburns, the flares, the music, the fashion, the sunnies, hairstyle, you name it. So, and Shane Warne was like that. When you remember when Michael Clark started off, and he came in, he bleached his hair and put a diamond earring, trying to imitate Shane.
That was Michael Clark, Dave Warner, Steve Smith. They all idolised Shane Warne. Absolutely idolised him.
100%. And that's the thing, people have to actually, now that we still going through the grief and whatnot, and I think there will be a time come when people will celebrate anyone that Shane Warne has interaction with. They'll celebrate his life and go, well, there was one man that they were fortunate enough to meet or deal with or played with him or worked with him. It's just that kind of personality. Like today, we still miss Elvis, and no matter how many years go past, our generation or even the next generation, they will still like to associate Elvis being part of us, and that's what Shane Warne will be. His legacy will live.
But he left us with he left us with wanting more, needing more, not getting much out of him. Even in his career, when he finished, he was on top. He could have played for another 4 or 5 years.
Oh,
he could easily have played. He left on top. 100%. He left plenty in the tank, and now he's left the world. We want more of him.
I know. It's amazing.
And how many people now produce photographs? Famous people produce photographs with Warne, and you can almost see them idolising him in those photos. Tendulkar, Lara, Mick Jagger. I mean, I have a great story. Good old Jeff Thompson. We're in a rural area in just near Barrel. We're having a night at a mate of mine, Frank Maley. He's a mate of mine who's got this farm in Canyon Lee, and we invited Jeff over for a dinner. And the fire was burning, and Jeff's telling us he got his mobile, and he showed me his mobile. He goes, "Look, I've got Mick Jagger's number, Richard Branson, who else? Paul McCartney, Ringo Starr, all these incredible stars. And, you know, he said, oh, look, I can ring Mick Jagger easily. But what he said was to me, Jeff said something to the effect of, but I'm not Shane Warne. He's got one twice as long. And it just goes to show the character of these people. Like Jeff Thompson's right in that, up that alley. He's amazing.
He's amazing. Opportunity to meet
him. Please, God, don't have him go now, please. Yeah, I don't want him to go. Oh, my God.
We lost
that would kill me.
Three precious and very loved cricketers in last 12 months, I think, you know, starting with Dean Jones. We touched base this morning as well. You know, all of these three cricketers were larger than life. They had, and with Dean Jones, when I went to Pakistan with PSL, the amount of effort he's done to bring cricket back to Pakistan, and you know, he was a big ambassador, working with the couple of franchises in PSL with Islamabad, and then went to coach Karachi as well, and commentating. He was just, you know, telling stories about how cricket should come back to Pakistan. He was the biggest ambassador. So his impact, again, outside the game was more than what he did within the game. And that's what the other two characters, similar, you know, and that's why they'll be loved forever.
Well, they just showed a replay of him. I think it was his first test wicket on the SCG, and it was caught by Dean Jones, of all people, who also passed away. It's a rather ironic, you know, togetherness. And Alan Border's right in the middle of all this. He was great friends with both Warney and Jones, and they're interviewing Alan Border. And Alan Border is one of the most pleasant guys. I've had the pleasure of talking to Alan Border on the phone once about all sorts of things. He talked for an hour. He had no worries at all.
Fantastic guy.
Same with Dennis Lilly. Dennis Lilly, we had a good chat. We had a chat about, of all people, Alan Mullally, who I've invited to the show tonight, but he's not here. There's something of a special nature of these people. They've got time. They're of an era where they have time. And I think Shane Warne is probably one of the last players that has that genuine time about him.
Absolutely.
Because now, I don't know, am I being hard? Current players just aren't that way. They're too entitled. They're making too much money. Even though Shane Warne made a lot of money, he still has a pretty good attitude about the way he did things.
He loved being loved. You know what I mean? So, you know, these guys now, that they're not as superstar. And that's what I said. He's the Hollywood, the Bollywood of the cricket, because he loved being loved. He loved that from the younger guys. I remember getting in a bus and we going for practice or whatnot. So the bus would buzz when Shane Warne gets on the bus, and all these young cricketers will just surround them. Like Warney would be sitting in the front seat or the second row, and all these young guys would just come up to him and start talking, maybe cricket, maybe general, maybe life. And you know how Warney was. He loved that, you know, being the centerpiece of the team, and that's where I witnessed that. And first trip I was going, I got on the bus, and all of a sudden, Shane Warne gets in the bus, and the whole mood of the bus gets lifted. You know, it's just.
Well, you had that experience on Rolls. He was saying it all.
Unbelievable. That's what I was thinking last night. Once I got the news, and I spoke to a couple of guys from Rajasthan Royals through social media and whatnot, and we were reliving those moments when, you know, if he had a bad game or bad practice, he's Warney up in the bus, and everyone's just talking to him. He's lifting the mood of the players. He was just fantastic, especially with the younger lot. And that's what I think. That's what I said to a couple of guys as well, and I said this earlier, that he loved being loved. You know, he just had that charisma, that character about him. So unbelievable.
Well, Lalit Modi, you must have met Lalit Modi through your time at Rajasthan Royals.
That's right.
The obviously IPL founder, you would argue. He talked in a tribute today about that. He's on my connections, and he, you know, was wax lyrical about Warne. He actually drove Lalit Modi to the success of the IPL in the early days. He had that vision. It was almost part, or if not a large part, Shane Warne's doing. Even when he tried to do in America with Tendulkar, Shane Warne had this vision about world cricket, and had he coached England, had he coached Australia, he could have led the charge into America and the rest of the world. He had so many more years of administrative work that he could have done in the background,
Good.
because he brought people together. He was great friends with Tiger Woods and all sorts of American idols.
Name it. Yeah.
I mean, even the likes of Jagger. And he had this ability to really bring people together and make things happen. When he said, let's do this, it happened. He's a bit of a genius, actually. And not only
100%. You remember the 3 games that he organized in old Yankee Stadium in America? So he pulled that out because of his contacts and whatnot. All of a sudden, all these retirees, and that's what his vision was going forward, trying to get all these baseball stadiums and have like a T10 kind of cricket or whatever, shorter format of cricket, and just introduce the American, traditional Americans who are used to watching baseball, and give them a taste of cricket, because there's so many expats, as you know, in America. There's so many expats, maybe of subcontinent origin or English or Australian, and they love their cricket. So that's all of a sudden he had 3 games of, you know, Lara, Tendulkar, Wasim Akram, Saklan Mushtaq, Murli, all playing, and you know, the crowds were there, the sold out games, and he did that. So, you know, that's Shane Warne for what we know. But yeah, it's for everyone. I think we will have that for the rest of our lives, that, you know, we didn't get enough out of him. Yeah, he's cut short.
Oh, look, sensational. And I know we're spending a lot of time on him, but he deserves it. He was greatly loved in Pakistan, India. Realistically, around the world, he was loved. I mean, England saw him as an enemy, but in the end, they embraced him through his time in Hampshire, his connections to England cricket in terms of commentary, and he was loved everywhere. And look at the 100 that he was involved with coming up. He was again led the charge with that, led the charge with the IPL, even our Big Bash to an extent. He's always been at the centre of all this. He is larger than life, and I'm the more I think about this, the more I'm shocked, and it hasn't sunk in.
And that's what Michael Vaughan said in that lunchtime show today, that how he was stuck here for Christmas and whatnot. So Shane Warne opened his door, his family, to him, and invited him for Christmas. And here he is having a Christmas with Shane Warne, who in England it was considered as a strong opposition, but here he's welcomed by Shane Warne in his home, celebrating Christmas with his family. So he was very touched by it and very emotional about it. So which is fair. And as we've said, he's touched so many hearts that, you know, everyone's got a story. Everyone's got a story to tell.
Yeah, I'm sorry to spend so much time on him, but I'm not sorry, actually. I just love the way even the women's cricketers had the black armband. All sides had that. Yeah. Even Yashir Shah would have him going up from the shame how to bowl. He just loved leg spinners. He loved any bowler, really. He was a sensation. He really was. And I shouldn't be so negative, but I just hope there's nothing untoward, nothing that we're not hearing comes out in the press. I want it to be clean natured. I don't want to hear that he's overdosed or something strange like that. I don't think so. I hope not. But you know what? There's a good chance if that were the case, they wouldn't let it be known. His legendary status can't be tarnished.
No. And sorry, just to wrap up on Shane Warne, young Kingy from Aussie team. She got 3 wickets today, and every time she got a wicket, she tapped the black armband to reflect how Shane Warne has had such an impact on her. Becoming a leg spinner and bowling the way she bowls. She watched Shane Warne over and over again, and the way she bowled today, it was beautiful. She turned the ball, she had that flight, and she got a couple of stumpings, and it just reflected how emotional she was before the game and during the game. And good on her for keeping up the spirit. You know, at every wicket she got, she was remembering Shane Warne. So good luck to her going forward. But I think that's again, as I said, he's touched so many people, especially the leg spinners around the world.
We'll go back to Michael Clarke, Dave Warner, Steve Smith. 3 players, 2 Australian captains, totally and utterly had Shane Warne on their wall.
Exactly.
It shows the impact. These blokes even coloured their hair accordingly. I mean, Clark certainly dyed his hair. I think Warner would have done the same. Warner even bowls the leg spin delivery the same. It was quite interesting.
Even Smith had the earring and the hair bleached. You know, so it's just again, he's the Bollywood and the Hollywood.
Actually, I am a little bit surprised because Michael Clark was a big fan of Warner. Haven't heard from Michael Clark at all.
I saw one of the tweets from Clark. I'll forward that to you. But he was quite emotional as well. So yeah.
Yeah, look, it's quite a sad thing. You just hope that people don't die young. But look, we've talked about it to death. How many players, sportsmen, personalities, celebrities, movie stars, rock stars, whatever, die young?
Mm.
And not always because of drugs, but they just die young. It's just that they become a target, like the John Lennons of the world. Even when you go to Versace from the fashion world, he was shot. People don't, it's almost like Warren led his life knowing he wouldn't live that long.
Well, that's what it, now that in a hindsight we can say that he's lived a shorter life, but if in a hindsight we can say now that he knew that he didn't have that long, so he had to live life full of it. So he actually experienced what an 70-year-old would have lived a full life in 50 years. So he's lived it. He's lived it all. I don't think he's left anything behind in the tank, as he would have said in before the game. If you walk out of the game, don't leave anything in the tank. You give it all. So I think when he was leaving the world, he left nothing in the tank. I think he's lived it.
I wonder. We're not going to find out, but I wonder if he had an inkling. Did he have any, not heart attacks, but did he have any physical feelings that he was not well? Because apparently he spoke to Mark Waugh and said he was going on a fitness regime, heading off to Thailand and beyond. He's going to go through some fitness routine to get himself right. When he transformed himself from the time that he was with Liz Hurley, because she transformed him.
That's right.
So whether perhaps he had a health scare that we don't know about, and then he went about this lean attitude to his body. Perhaps something happened. We just don't know, do we? Because
that's right.
Come out and tell us, do they?
No, they won't. No, they won't.
Anyway,
but that's life, I suppose.
That is life. Now, really, the commentary is around whether Pakistan should win this. Well, if any of these two teams, Pakistan and Australia, are going to win the match, it's going to be Pakistan. I cannot see Australia coming out and getting enough runs to get such a lead that they can force Pakistan into trouble. I don't think it's going to happen. I think Pakistan only 4 down after 2 days. 4 down.
4 down. That's unbelievable. And that's the thing that we said before the game, that Australian bowling attack hasn't been tested in the Ashes series, where they've had all their way. They didn't get even in a session. They didn't go wicketless session, and they go on hard toil. But here, all of a sudden, they've come out with the comfort zone of 4-0 win, 1 draw, and here they are fielding for 2 days. I mean, how long ago that happened? So they've gone in 2 days of fielding, the tired bodies, tired legs, mentally tired as well after what's been happening behind the scene as well with the loss of Marsh and Warren. So, the mentally they'll be tired, exhausted. Physically they're tired. So I only see 2 results. If the weather plays a role, then it's a draw. Otherwise, Pakistan should win this test.
There's some of the viewers that are coming on, I think, for the first time. We're getting a lot of new names as well. Spend some time looking through my videos, guys. I've got plenty to talk. In fact, I did actually work for, as Mosen knows, and obviously with Maz, I don't know what Maz is. I worked for a Pakistani TV channel, TV Arcana, initially, with the guys from there, and they gave me a lot of access, and we would talk to a lot of ex-cricketers from Jeff Lawson right through, and our commentary was always about Gaddafi Stadium in Lahore, the sense of the feeling of walking out to a venue like that. It was magnificent, and they all had experience. It was very, very interesting to hear them talk about it. It was that generation had more exposure to Pakistan than the current lot. Obviously, 24 years since they've played there. I love to get in the ear of Cameron Green going there now. I mean, he's very blessed to be that young and have experienced this strongly in Pakistan. He's going to get a good education as to play cricket. There's nothing harder than playing in a place like Pakistan or India, for that matter. It really will test your abilities. And yeah, I'm always for when young kids go on tours to, like we used to bring the tour to Sri Lanka, some 5 teams from South Brisbane and from the connecting clubs. And we get along, again, as I said, Ben Cuttings, Ben Dunks, Derek Barnes, and even Chris Lynn went on the tour as well. So I remember having a young Chris Lynn, a young Ben Dunk,
Ben Cutting.
They're all Sunnybank or that area they were living in. They would come on these tours. It was pretty damn good. They got to experience Sri Lanka, and they would play spin better, I would imagine. And you don't get that experience that easily. And I don't think Cameron Green's had it anyway.
No, and that's the precious experience that what he's getting, and with what we spoke about, this spells that he bowled today, the 2 spells that he bowled when he really start the ball going both ways, reversing big as well, and he would not have that experience before. That how much ball was reversing, the preparation of the ball, how to look after the ball, and all that. And then obviously from the batting side of things, he would have seen how organised both Azhar Ali and Imam initially, and then when Babar came, how was his timing? The first straight drive that he hit off green, it just looked like that batting for 10 days already.
Yeah, amazing. Give me 2 seconds. Can you talk on a bit about? I'm just going to my mother unfortunately just called me, and I've got a 90-year-old, as I've told you. So give me 2 seconds.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I'll just wait for you.
All right, sorry about that, guys.
That's
a moment of madness here. Look, remember, I think even the day that we had that dinner, when I think it was with a few other people, and we actually talked to Azhar Ali about taking tours to Pakistan. We need to revisit that. He was very keen to help. Remember that?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, yeah.
I mean, I'd like to reignite that and get young kids to go there because it's such an important to get experience in a place like Pakistan. For that matter, Pakistani kids getting experience here. We should get that happening again because that something that I know the security issues are there, but look, I look at the ground today and I see the amount of young people, young innocent Pakistanis there watching happily. It must be a great place to travel to. It has to be. It has to. I don't believe in these things. To me, whatever issues are there, no matter what, whether it's India, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Pakistan, UAE, you could go on further and talk about Kenya, Zimbabwe. It wouldn't be the safest place to travel. Under the guise of a cricket tour, you tend to see the best of the country and people embrace you because cricket levels everybody. That brings everybody onto the same page. And let's think of that. Have you got contact with Azhar Ali?
Yeah.
We need to revisit that with him because he's very keen to help out, and he's a great statesman. I'm really impressed with him. And look at him today, 185. I love the way he was driving. He had this punch at his drives. And he seemed to be totally aware of what he was doing, where he was hitting it. He knew where to hit that ball for 6, and he knew how to hit the ball for 6. He knew his boundaries beautifully. When a batsman can hit a 6 and not be threatened by fieldsmen on the boundary, he knows his ground.
Yep. And the one thing that commentator were talking about, sorry, Norman, was the balance that he had at the crease. That was such a critical thing, that his balance was just so good that even though his stride was not big, his hands were not going away from the body, his balance at the crease was just so critical, so he could hit the ball. As you said, he knew where his boundaries were, he knew where he wanted to hit the ball, and he had total control over his strokes. He did not look like getting out. It was like a selfless dismissal the way he got out. But as we touch base, no one looked like getting him out. Like even they tried short on him. He left the ball well, and then when he wanted to hit the ball, he pulled the ball well. He drove enormously with great balance, and it didn't look like getting out at all. So I thought if this was a show, he would have batted another 10 days.
I mean, I hated the fact that he got out to Labuschagne. That annoyed me because Labuschagne was carrying like he bowled well. Get lost. That was a shocking delivery. It was just a one-day T20 shot that really Azhar Ali didn't need to play. His normal conventional shots were more than enough. Someone's asking whether Mohsin is from Pakistan. He certainly is.
Yes,
say something in Urdu or say something to prove it.
Kya hal hai?
Okay, so you got to teach me a bit more too. I know a fair bit. I mean, inshallah, of course, is a word it's very much a word of reverence. It's great. So, yeah, Azhar Ali, just the way he pulled the ball, he knew exactly where that bat. They were faultless. He knew exactly how hard to hit it, where to hit it, and it was almost virtually no risk. And that's the key to what I'm getting at. The Australian batters, certainly some of them, if not most of them, haven't really gotten to this ground. And it's deceptive. It looks placid, which it is, but you have to get your iron.
Absolutely. And you still have to use your utmost skills to be able to get through. Because if he wasn't good enough, reversing ball when Stark, Hazlewood, Cummins, even Green were reversing the ball massively both ways, anyone who would have been flustered by the amount of reverse, and they were hiding the ball well as well. If you saw the bowlers running in, they were holding the ball in the opposite hand, and as they were approaching, they would change the ball. It just doesn't allow them to see the ball, which side the shine is, and that's what the skill of a good batter is. They will pick it up. They'll still go, oh, I'm good enough to be able to pick it up, to go with reverse, and he did that with amount of control he did that with was just unmatched. Even when Babar came in early, he looked really good in terms of his straight drives, his cover drives, which he's known for. But Azhar Ali was unmatched. I think he was the pick of the he was the MOM for today.
Absolutely. So the viewers from the subcontinent today, and even a lot of my Indian colleagues, Indian Sri Lanka match is obviously important, and the Virat Kohli factor for his 100th Test match. Oops, I'm thinking of knocking the door. Okay. The reality is, it's one of those situations where, hang on, sorry, just bear with me a second.
Yep.
I'm hearing strange noises of the night here. So, what was I talking about?
The Indian Test, importance of that.
Yeah, I've lost my complete train of thought.
I'll just chip in with that importance. I think for India to be able to play the World Cup, the Test Championship, they have to win these 2 Test matches. Plus, they have to go on and win the Test match they left behind in England, because of the fact that they have lost to South Africa when they shouldn't have lost. Now, their World Test Championship is really critical of how well they polish off now these 2 Test matches against Sri Lanka, win with the dominance, go to England, win that Test match that they've left behind, and then when Australia comes in, they have to win that as well. Because of the fact, again, we keep thinking and looking back to where they left off that Test match in South Africa, which I still believe they should have won that. That might come back to bite them a little bit if they don't really polish off the other oppositions before the Australian series. And it could come down to similar, how Australia were playing New Zealand, and if they and that was played as like a semi-final. If Australia win, they would qualify. If they lose, they didn't. So I think Australia-India Test series will come down to that. Whoever wins that series will qualify for the World Test Championship. So for that situation to arise, India have to win against Sri Lanka well, and win in England as well.
Well, it's pivotal because these Australia and Pakistan are second and third at the moment in the ranking, aren't they?
That's true. Yeah.
And then ultimately Australia will play India at home, and that'll be crucial as well, I would say.
100%. 100%. So Australia's sake, they want to win in subcontinent. They want to keep winning, as they had a good home series, but they want to win away to be able to go and put their name in the ring for that World Test Championship.
It's great watching young or early videos, especially on 60 Minutes of Shane Warne talking. He was very cocky in a good way.
In a good way.
And he was good mates with Merv Hughes as well, and their relationship was of interest. I wish we had more players like that. I mean, Dave Warner, I thought, was in that mode, but he's done things which have countered that rather badly with some of the antics he's done. We do need some larrikins. I mean, even Maxwell.
Don't have those characters. I remember when I was in Canberra and Canberra team was playing Mercantile Mutual Cup at the time. If you remember, they were in the domestic one-day competition. And Merv Hughes came to Canberra and he captain coach 1 year. Mike Valletta came in and he captain coach 1 year as well. So Merv Hughes, again, was phenomenal character. You know, the game is missing those characters anymore. You don't get them. You know, the Shane Warnes, the Merv Hughes, the McDermotts, Alan Borders. You know, the likes of those individuals. It's just the cricket has gone very different to you know, the 90s when we were growing up, or 80s of the 90s. That character, the individuals, you don't see them anymore.
Yeah, I heard Ben Stokes talking today too about Warne, and Ben Stokes very quietly admitted to being completely inspired by Warne, and that's evidenced by the way he plays as well. I just hope we're not going to find another Shane Warne. I'm afraid.
We're not. No.
Such a unique character. The fact he didn't even want to play cricket, he wanted to play AFL.
AFL, exactly.
But we played for St Kilda, didn't make it. Got told he was not good enough, had to go and play cricket. So he had that was an intriguing thing that happened in his career, because he was actually pushed down and given a down-to-earth scenario, knowing he had to get his act together, and he did, and look what he's achieved, and he kept on learning, and so it was just very important.
The heights that he's got to, or the cricket shrewdness that he's touched, no one will match it. No one will be there. He's like Bradman-esque. You know what Bradman did for cricket, no one can match it, and what Shane Warne did for cricket, no one can match it.
Still hard to believe. And it might sound weird as well that it's kind of just surpassed what Rod Marsh's legacy is too, because we should be talking about Rod Marsh today, because he's big enough as it is, but he's been swamped by what happened with Shane Warne. And I mean, yeah, it's going to be some sad days. I mean, the saddest day by far for Australian cricket was Philip Hughes passed. The dramatic way on a cricket field.
Yeah.
And good old Abbott. What's his Sean Abbott? I'm really impressed by Sean Abbott that he could come back from that.
Absolutely. And I've had him with Sydney Sixers and New South Wales cricket post his coming back, in the way his character, his mental strength at the time was shattered, but then, you know, to be able to lift himself back and play the game and win the championship for Sydney Sixers, and now he's been picked for white ball cricket for Australia on tour as well. So, you know, for him to be successful and be talked about in amongst getting back in the Aussie colours, I think it shows a bit of character that you've gone through the tough time and that you pull yourself through and still be able to perform at highest level and get back into the national colours.
Yeah, I couldn't think of anything worse than this feeling that you've killed someone on a cricket field.
Well, that's it. That's just
I want to talk about this though. The way that Phil Hughes was hit. I'm talking about technique now. When I was playing cricket, especially in my younger days, we didn't wear helmets on a regular basis. And I opened the batting. I was a keeper as well. And the ball would come to me, and I would watch the ball until it came there, and I would move with the ball like that way. Azhar Ali does that when he plays. He plays. That technique has been lost. They turn their head with this helmet on, like Will Pekoski, for example. And how could you get hit in the back of the head? I'm not blaming Phil Hughes for that. It happened, but it was a technical flaw to his batting that he had a helmet on, even though it didn't protect the back. Why he wasn't watching the ball until he reached and moving it? They don't. Yeah. If you watch the ball coming to you, you're going to move out of the way of it. If you turn your head, you're gone.
Yeah, it's just, I think the whole day, like I was, well, I should say one of the unfortunate ones to have seen the footage, the whole day's worth of footage as well, because the games used to get coded and get shared with. I was with Queensland Cricket at the time, and we got the footage, and I had a look. The whole day, he didn't look comfortable against the short ball. So it's just, I don't know. Again, in the hindsight, whether he had that something in his mind or something in his heart was ticking. Like he could play ramp short, he could play pull, he could cut as well. So he wasn't mug against the short ball. But at that day, he just didn't look like he was comfortable under the short delivery. So those one of those days, I think it was very unfortunate the way he played that shot and then got hit. And then rest is history. So it's just again one of those things. In hindsight, now if you look back, and I looked at those footage and whatnot, and we saw how all morning, the first session when the ball was pitched short, he was not comfortable at all. He was either ducking awkwardly or he was playing and missing all of those pulls and cuts. So so it was. I agree with you. It was something technical as well, but that day he did not look comfortable at all.
Yeah, I mean, who was it? There's we had some Barry Knight and his indoor nets that he used to have, indoor centres that he used to have in the city of Sydney. He used to talk about Kerry Packer coming there, and it was all issues. They used to get a tennis ball and just bowl short at them without any helmet or any helmet. And just get used to ducking and weaving balls. Why? We need to go back to the fundamentals there of playing cricket, and even to take the helmet off and get the batsman to get used to evading the ball, because when the helmet's on, they can still do that. And it's something that technique of training is very important, especially obviously for opening batters or early batters in the order. And I think that's something they need to return to. With Will Pekoski, he's had 9 or 10 concussions, something out. Is he going to play for Australia? Is he going to? I don't think so.
Look, they're actually Victoria have issued a statement. They're going to have a good look with the medical staff, and obviously with the situation where Phil with Will Pekoski is. So they're going to make a decision. He wants to play, which is the best part. That he's mentally prepared to go back and go through the rehab and whatnot and play, which is a very good thing from an individual, that he's strong enough to go back and play. So now it's up to CA and Cricket Victoria to facilitate all the preps, all the rehabs that they need to do. And I really wish him well. He's one talented player. He's flary. He's so good that I want him to come really strong come next season and come back into the Test team, because the talent that he has got. At the moment, he's probably the best opening batter that we've got available. So I wish him well. I'd like to see him come back strong next season and have a really good off season to work out with his rehab side of things, and really come back as a strong individual and show that class to the world.
I mean, look, I'm giving my honest opinion. I think someone that's been hit that many times and had concussion as many times as he's had at such a young age is destined not to go any further. I mean, rehabilitation, whatever you're saying, may well be the case, but I can't see him making it. Not because he's not good enough, but it's something of a physical, it can't be good for you.
No,
look at them. No. I mean, I know it's not rugby league or gridiron or anything like where it's more severe, they say. This certainly isn't good, and it's very disappointing. Even it's funny how people go very close to making it to that level, as in playing for the country. Prithvi Shaw's another. He didn't He
Yeah.
hasn't so far made it to the Australian
No.
side, the Indian side for very long. Yeah, and even I heard Waqar Yunus talking with today, and he talked about certain Pakistani bowlers during the period that Waqar Yunus and Wasim Akram are bowling, they were
Yeah.
trying to force their way into the Pakistan side, had no hope with those two bowlers in there.
No, couldn't make it. Yeah, and there's so many bowlers that came through with 1 or 2 Test matches they played, but their impact was such a low that they couldn't match the intensity what Waqar and Wasim had, and hence they played 1 or 2 Test matches and then off the scene really quickly. So yeah, it's one of it's harsh sport, and with the amount of cricket that is being played now compared to what it was in '90s, you really used to get a proper off season, and then in season. But nowadays, there's no off season, is it? So once soon as the one country's season is finished, you go into another country where the season is on. So then the cricket keeps going 24/7. So like the Aussies, season's finished here, or almost finished here. They're in Pakistan. They're going to play 3 Test matches. Once they finish there, they're going to go IPL, and all of a sudden, England will come about, and then they're back into Aussie summer. So there's no real off season for those guys to go and go. Well, what am I going to do? Too much cricket.
Too much.
Too much.
And again, I refer to Jeff Thompson. He used to play cricket in summer and AFL or whatever he chose in winter, and that was his season. I know we're not going to return to those days, but I really wish they would play a little bit less.
Yeah. Bodies need that 2-3 months break because you've been on road, you've been playing non-stop, so you mentally as well you need that break to refresh yourself, to regain that mental strength, the body strength, and everything, and have that refreshment, and then come back and start again. But current top cricketers, they don't have that luxury anymore, and that's why you see guys like Jason Royce pulled out of IPL. He's exhausted. He's saying that, look, I've been on road dealing with the bubbles and everything. I just cannot do another 6 weeks in IPL doing the same thing because I've got so much cricket coming up in England and leading up to World Cup as well. So it's just I think now players are going to pick and choose. As you saw, Matthew Hayden was not happy about 4 or 5 of the Aussie guys were given break from white ball cricket of this Pakistan tour as well. They're just going to go back before the IPL. They're going to have that time off and then go into the IPL. And Matty Hayden was clearly not happy. He said that in his statement that the country should come first over an IPL. So they should have played Pakistan tour completely, and then if they wanted a break, they should have break in April, which is considered as a leave period for the players. But that's I think that's the nature of cricket. That's where we're going. I don't think it's going to change.
So we've got Himanshu Chowdhury, who's a regular for mine from way back. He changed his name to Night Watchman. I'm not sure they've got a program on. Let me know about it because we can always talk about it. Pakistan were too slow. Yeah, I don't. There's a lot of criticism about Pakistan being too slow. The reality is they got 4 for 470 odd. I mean, for God's sake, that's brilliant. And they have to they are batting to not have to bat again. So if they batted for 2 days, they could have batted into the morning and made it 500. They won't need to bat again. And then have to concentrate on getting Australia out twice, which they could well do. So I don't necessarily think it's a matter of being slow. It's more a matter of you can get one big, huge first innings total and really make it hard for the other opposition. Scoreboard pressure, as we call it, we know what an effect that has on a team, no matter how well they're playing. If they know they're going to get over 500, I mean, India's example here, 570 odd with Jadeja's 175, absolutely smashed Sri Lanka. They're mentally out there thinking, how am I going to fit 400 more runs? They're mentally gone.
Mentally gone. Plus 2 days of fielding, as anyone can appreciate. If you are in field for a whole of 2 days, nearly 2 days, your body's exhausted. You are not as going to come out and be as fresh as in first innings. So you're exhausted. They've done that. They've wear Australians down, and the bodies are tired, and so they come out hard at Australian cricketers tomorrow. Get the early wickets, get them all out by the end of play. Even if Australia take whole day, they'll be out by 250, the game's done. So yeah, I wouldn't say being too critical on Pakistan being too slow unless we see how Australia come out tomorrow. And I think I agree with you. When they come out, they won't be as patient. They will try and take on Pakistan bowling. They'll try and go hard, and that's where they could lose wickets and clumps.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely, for sure. I'd be very happy if I was in Pakistan. In fact, I wonder what we've got press conferences which would be going on now. I'm just curious as to what we've got going on. Let's have a look here. Let's see who they brought up. So David Gravely would have joined us today, the former chairman of selectors, but he's in Tenerife.
Right. Okay.
And so he's having fun. And from an Australian perspective, let's have a look at what's happened here. There's an interview here with looks as though we've had a Mars Labuschagne is in fact come on to be interviewed today. Be interesting to see if he talks highly about his run out. I guess he has every right to, but
he will. He enjoyed that, didn't he?
he enjoyed that and his wicket taking too. Which let's not get too carried away there. I mean, if he claims to be being a leading bowler, well, then we've got a problem, a real problem if that's what we're thinking our leading bowlers. People are saying results being a draw. We'll wait and see, guys. I wouldn't be so damning about that. I think that there's every chance that we may see a result. It's all up to Pakistan and their bowling now. If they can get early wickets, Australia will definitely struggle.
Yeah, I think so. I agree with you.
I have this feeling, and Australia, I wouldn't be upset if they got beaten quite heavily because, again, I go back to South Africa and New Zealand. South Africa had no practice at all. I went out in New Zealand, absolutely smacked them. They got their act together and they were able to win the next match. I'm not saying they will necessarily do that, but you need to play. They need to have a trial match. England have done.
Commentator elaborated that as well today. They were talking about the importance of two matches, one or two tour matches before the series starts, because you acclimatize yourself in no matter how many net sessions you do, there's nothing better than spending time in the middle in a game practice scenario where you face the balls, you go out in the middle, score some runs or ball delivery. So that value of playing that one or two first class games or tour games before the test match is so important. And I think the ICC needs to revise their next calendar and whatnot and try and accommodate one or two tour games where there's a full tour, just so that the team can acclimatise.
We've had. I think we're getting pretty close to 20,000 viewers here today. I just looked at the record; going pretty well. We've got good attendance. So obviously, this game's the Pakistan team are on a high. Their fans are on a high. Not often you have 4 for 474 against Australia, even at home. It's I don't want to laugh, but when we hear Australia bowled well, say Lyon bowled well. No, he didn't. He bowled 50 overs and got 1 wicket. I mean, is that good bowling? He bowled idly, perhaps, but the way Azhar Ali and even Rizwan was putting through, even that there was a very, very late cut shot that was more of a dab that Azhar Ali went past, literally out of the hands of the keeper. Wasn't that just beautiful? That's class. That's really
there's one thing is playing spin well, and then one thing is not allow the spinner to settle in, and that's what Pakistan did. They didn't allow Nathan Lyon to get in a rhythm to be able to dominate them. So he did try, but obviously both, even from the openers, when you saw he came on in 8th over, they did not let him settle. They didn't allow him to bowl with dominance. What English did here in Australia during Ashes, but that's what Pakistan didn't allow him to do that. The other thing that I had it written was the couple of missed opportunities. So there was one cut shot that Imam played, and that was a review that they should have taken. It was a faint outside edge. They didn't take the review, so I thought there was a kind of a missed opportunity. And then there was a drop catch on Rizwan. which was again late in the day, and that time it probably wasn't that impact of that drop cash, but there was a couple of opportunities day one as well where they didn't take it earlier on. So I think if Pakistan were to take those early opportunities, which Australia didn't do, I think that's going to make another difference as well. So come tomorrow, take all the opportunities, bowl stump to stump, attack the stumps, and then they'll be right.
I mean, again, Australia haven't had a match practice here. They haven't played overseas since the Ashes of 2019. You'd think they could have afforded to go a little bit early and have a practice match. I know security was always the issue, but surely they could have done that.
I also was thinking yesterday, they could have, instead of having the camp in Melbourne, they could have gone and camped in Dubai, in ICC Academy. This similar sort of slow and low wickets. So instead of spending that week in Melbourne where it was wet, rain, and they were all indoors practicing on synthetic, they could have gone to Dubai and
Sure.
practice similar kind of conditions there, camp there for 5-6 days, what they spend in Melbourne. They would have been batting on low and slow pitches. They would have had acclimatized a little bit close to what conditions they're playing now, rather than Melbourne's, because Melbourne and Rawalpindi are far and far apart from each other's conditions. So it's not real practice what they did in Melbourne. So I think they missed the trick. I think from my perspective.
I don't get going to Melbourne. I don't get it. It just doesn't make any sense. These so-called camps they have within Australia. Oh, I don't know. It certainly can't be a cost issue. They should be just do what we used to do. We used to go to the country early. We used to happily do that. No problems. We would have a great lead into it, like the Duke of Norfolk's 11 at Arundel Castle in England. That was a great lead into the series. It really, I don't get it why they don't do it. I really don't. I think there's something somewhat missing when they're not doing that. I know it's time related. I get that point, but I'm just not a fan. I don't know. They really need to sort that out.
Yeah, agree 100%.
Our audience is getting bigger and bigger here, where the people are obviously gathering up. So Babar Azam today, he looked very solid. His run out was a bit sloppy. Azhar Ali certainly batted well, and he hit some great shots, but he probably didn't bat that fast. But it's not his fault. He batted superbly. No, sorry.
Yeah, that's the thing, that when Babar came in, he was trying to take the game on, and that partnership that Babar and Azhar had, they were going fours instead of 2.5s. But that time when Babar got run out, and I agreed, it was a little bit sloppy from his perspective. He knew the ball was on the right side of Marnus, and he picked it up with clean action, one momentum pick up and clean throw. That was not worth the risk. So I'm pretty sure he'd be disappointed on his dismissal, because if he would have batted for another half an hour, score would have been 500 plus, because he was starting to get going. He didn't look like bogged down. He didn't look like in trouble as well. And some of the straight drives and cover drives he played, man, they were really, really treat to watch for a man who's known for his front foot drives. He didn't look like that he was missing the beat. But again, Azhar is this is how he plays. If people want to criticize him for that, it's really unfortunate. He's played 92 Test matches. He scored 1800s, 34 50s.
Was that his 9th actually, wasn't it?
Yeah. So this is the nature how he plays. If you want him to go up the gear, fair enough. You can be critical of him, but if he gets out earlier on, there was no one who's going to bat 400 deliveries. He's one of those guys he's the backbone of Pakistan cricket. That's how he plays. So, I think it's a bit harsh going critical on Azhar to go. He could have gone harder, but if he were to lose the wicket at 300, 2 for 300 could have been easily 8 for 400. So you got to weigh up the risk and reward. I think Pakistan in a good spot. They've done the batting side of thing. Now it's time for the bowlers to deliver.
Yeah, it was magnificent.
Maybe.
What your opening batsman getting 157 and your first dropper getting 185, you've batted well. You've batted superbly. There's not an issue of how well you've batted, and here to Pakistan, they've excelled at home. They've brought home a reason to be there. You can't deny that there's great theatre going on. It's just magnificent.
Absolutely.
I'm pretty sure that most of the viewers were watching the way that Pakistan were batting, even though the Indian game was out, except for Jadeja. Jadeja would have been amazing to watch live, especially. He's a phenomenon. He doesn't get enough credit for his batting, and look, he showed it. He's only scored one other century. That was only his second century ever. I didn't realise that. I thought he scored more than that, but it was one hell of a century to put a stamp on it. I wish they would let him go to 200, but anyway, 175 was magnificent. Ashwin scored 5. He scored 60 odd today. Look, it's just onwards and upwards for these guys. It's just sensational. It really is. It's great to see.
I think the India-Sri Lanka test will be wrapped up maximum day 4 because the game has moved so much. 14 wickets have fallen already, so India probably would not need to bat again. Come tomorrow, by past lunch, I think Sri Lanka first thing will wrap up, and then they've got another. I think by day 4, at worst, tea, the game would be over.
Amazing.
Yeah.
All right, Moses, I'll let you go. It's past midnight. Well, past midnight here. It's not past midnight in Britain.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Thanks again for your discussions. We'll see how things go tomorrow, and if you're up for it, I'll bring you on as we've done through the test. You've done a great job. Thank you very much. Everyone, make sure that you, Moses, have you got a Twitter page or something, or Instagram page you want people to know about?
Yeah, I'll pass on so we can publish that tomorrow, and then people can follow me on.
Make some comments in the post comments section if you want as well. But it's you got my name's got at Norm Koch there. Put your name, Moses and Shake, and then put at whatever it is on the.
Okay, sure, I'll do that. Perfect, sounds good.
All right.
Excellent. Thanks to the audience as well, and look.
Leaving 85 people here watching. So
fantastic.
Can you see that on your screen?
No, I can't. No.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Excellent. Thank you, Norman, and thanks to the audience. I'll look forward to tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thanks, man. Cheers. Bye.
A lot of people that have been making comments like David Gravely, the English champion selectors, a number of people wanted to talk about Warren tonight, but they'll come on another stage. But more importantly, the way that Pakistan batted was phenomenal. 4 for 470 odd runs, magnificent. And even the way India batted with their 570 odd was also quite dramatic, but it really was Jadeja's show. With Punt earlier on, they both put their foot forward, didn't they, quite greatly. So where are we going to go from here, guys? Cricket's alive and well. I'm very, very happy with the way that Australia's been able to tour Pakistan, with Rawalpindi being the first location, onto Karachi for the second, and the third, where I hope to be for Lahore, will be something to behold. It's been great theatre, great entertainment. The crowd have been magnificent. They've been very positive and welcoming, and the signs have been very positive. It's just been a great day. India had a chance. They lost to win the World Test Championship. They did have a chance. They were well in the World Test Championship final. They could have won that match. Yes, you're right. Absolutely. New Zealand won, and it's unfortunate. Recently, India, who are the best Test team in the world, there's no doubt about that. Pound for pound, they're the best Test team. But they just seem to not get across the line. They should have beat South Africa. They should have won the World Test Championship. They've been playing well generally, so we'll wait and see. Pakistan Zindabad, of course, it's a very famous comment. I had Monty Panesar on my show earlier about that. I know, what do you think? What is actually missing from the Australian bowling today? Well, they're predictable. Stark just doesn't have it in him as much as he used to. Look, Hazelwood did a good job, nice and steady. Pat Cummins was pretty admirable as well. They just didn't have the variety in the attack. Lyon bowled steadily for some 50 odd overs, but he didn't have much penetration. And the Pakistan batters seemed to really enjoy his bowling. They seemed to really know how to play him, and he was tonked effectively, and it wasn't very active. I think Pat Cummins' captaincy is not quite there yet. He had an easy run on the Ashes where we won quite convincingly, but there was something missing there. Cameron Green should have bowled a lot more. There's no doubt about that. And they probably should have had Ashton Agar on the side in place of someone like Stark. That's my opinion. It should have been Cummins and Hazelwood with Agar and Lyon to support each other, with Cameron Green bowling more overs. That would have been a better bowling lineup for my liking. Wade 666. Wade won't be playing Test cricket again. I don't think he's not a Test cricketer anymore. He certainly is a short form. Did very well in the World Cup, but no, Australia lacked that variety. The spin variety, Labuschagne took a wicket, but he didn't bowl well. Smith and Head should never bowl. They're gone beyond that. There's a real lack of variety, is the word that I would use. It's rather sad. It's pretty obvious that there's something not right there. We'll wait and see, what in fact that will mean for the future. Australia need to start to think about their way they're playing overseas. At home, it's a bit of a different story. Even Scotty Boland might have been considered in place of, say, Stark. That would have been my opinion on that. I don't think necessarily that was the right combination. But look, we'll see how they go throughout the second innings and the match. There'll be some changes, I think. You'll probably see an extra spinner come in for the later two Test matches, Agar in particular. Swepson, I wouldn't give a go. He'll be absolutely tonked. They'll tear him apart. He's too vulnerable, having not played Test cricket, to be initiated of all places, Pakistan. And why Agar not in playing 11? A great question. Ashton Agar should have been, because he can also bat. So they could have afforded perhaps another batsman down, or they could have definitely had Stark. I think may have been the one to actually miss out. Shaheen Shah Afridi will be interesting. Remember 24th of October, yes. He could be someone who will be quite devastating in this period coming up. Be interesting to see how he bowls. Certainly. I mean, it's somewhat of a he certainly is a bowler of great note, and I feel a lot of time for him. I would have loved to have seen Harris Ralph, subscribe Eyes on Cricket for super content. Thank you, Samanth Shastri. You're right. God, we've got 100 people online right now. View, like, and share the post. Subscribe. Hit the notification button. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Norm Koch, and Norman Kochling on Facebook, and obviously LinkedIn. But Eyes on Cricket with Norman Kochling. I've got merchandise here. I've got shirts and hats and jackets and mouth guards, as in mouthpieces, as in masks. Guys, I think I want to see you not only be viewing, but also hit the subscribe button. And I can see whether you are, because it's evidence in what's happening there. Please hit the subscribe button. Show me evidence so that you're joining up with me here, and I would really appreciate that. We've had a great little session here today. It's been wonderful. We've certainly had a lot of great content. A lot of people that have provided me with some input with the great questions. I will get guest speakers on. We've got a lot of people who haven't seen yet that will be on the show. There's a lot more to come, guys. I'm pretty happy with the way that things go in the show. So stay tuned. Remember Virat 6 to Shaheen. Yeah, Virat Kohli got 45 in the first innings. He could well still score. So India score 570 odd against is more than enough. They've got Sri Lanka on the ropes at 4 for 100. They're not going to get more than 250, 300, and then they'll be in the bat again, and they'll probably be all out under 270, and we'll have an innings victory for India. Whereas Pakistan have a big opportunity here now. If they get early wickets against Australia tomorrow and take the lead, they could well have Australia struggling and not getting anywhere near the total they need to. So that's going to be of interest for sure. Absolutely. All right, guys. I hope the subscriptions are coming through. We should see a lot of evidence of some great clips to come up with too in the future. The passing of Shane Warne has been a shock to me. I'm still not able to sleep. Who could be the dangerous bowler from Pakistan? So, well, Shane Afridi for sure. Sajid Khan looked pretty good too. You got Zinc, the young blokes. They bowl good line length, a bit of clip, bit of lift. They'll trouble the Australian batsmen. Samanth Shastri said earlier there with 15, 20 people now, there are over 100 plus on watching. Congratulations. Thank you. Yes, we've got good numbers today. We've got a very, very comforting result. But guys, ask me questions. I'm here to answer your questions. We can talk about some of the experiences I've had with the likes of Shane Warne and even back to Rod Marsh, more relevant to the likes of even Mike Clark. A lot of good things there. And it was great to see the players all bowing and giving a minute's silence to this amazing man, Shane Warne. Incredible player. Absolutely incredible player. Deserves all the accolades he's been given. there's nothing less than a fighter in that player. He's been amazing for some years. Excellent indeed. Absolutely excellent. We're waiting for India versus Australia sometime. Well, that's going to happen later on in the year, isn't it? Not quite yet, and obviously with the World Cup. Alana King tribute to Warren is touching. Yeah, she was, and she did bowled very well as well. There's no doubt that the man deserves all the accolades he's gotten. If you look through the evidence of what's gone on with him in his life, he's been amazing through and through. It's really one of those situations where, you can't talk highly enough of a bloke. He's left too early, hasn't he? He's left way too early. His career ended way too early, and it's really sad that we're seeing a man of that stature fall away as we have. Really sad. All right, and we've moved on from Dean Jones passed away. That was a big deal not long ago. Rod Marsh, we had no time to even mourn on Rod Marsh when all of a sudden Shane Warne's passed away. Still not able to digest that. It's very sad. How do you rate Imam and Azhar's innings? Fantastic. Which was the best one? Azhar Ali probably, because he looked to steady the ship. Imam Al-Haq was magnificent. He played out of his skin, not having scored a century before. He went on and scored a big century, 157. Azhar Ali was just in his own backyard, in his own lounge room, the way he was batting. It was really quite sensational. He clearly is a master. Being his 19th Test century, he knew exactly what he was doing. He knew exactly what he had to do. He batted brilliantly, absolutely brilliantly. A lot of time for Azhar Ali. Both Mosen and I had dinner with Salim Malik, Azhar Ali, and a few other Pakistani management people at a restaurant in Sydney. In fact, it was Parramatta with a guy called Kamil Khan, and we sat there and we had a good long chat, and Azhar Ali was just so engaging, such an intellect. I think he's got a law degree. I'm pretty sure he's got a law degree. Nazir Khan, Norman, you rock today. Thank you. On the final, I'm technically unchallenged batsman, Ashar knows exactly what he's doing, knows exactly where he's placing the ball, the strength he needed to hit it. He was always hit balls over the boundary. He knew exactly what he was doing. He was in total control from the moment he walked out there. Whereas Imam Al-Haq had to struggle a little bit early on, but he eventually got through it and batted fantastically and broke through the ceiling of a century and went on to score a big century, 157. So, but Azhar Ali, right out of the Waka, right out of the Muhammad Yusuf Yohana, as I would call him, the Yunus Khan batting style, the great long. They were great masters. Both Yunus Khan, who scored 10,000 plus run. Mahmoud Yusuf finished far too early. Could easily have played on longer. I mean, there's a lot to be said about these players. Pakistan produced great batsmen, great technicians, great bowlers. A lot to be said about Pakistan. And Yasir Shah, bring him back. His bowling has been, dramatic. He's a bit out of form, but he could prove to be the foil there in a match like this. He could have come out there and done something pretty damn brilliant. And I think that they're forgetting his ability, and they shouldn't discount him at all. And really fabulous to watch. Pakistan are a great model for teams to work on. Great natural ability. They let their players be themselves. Which team will play the final WCC in 21-23? You'd have to think Australia's going to be in that mix, but India's still a chance. Pakistan could come through. I hope South Africa don't come through. They've had some wins lately, which to me haven't really impressed me. But I don't know. I wouldn't go too far with that side of things. All right, guys. Any more questions? Pakistan will struggle tomorrow. You reckon they will struggle in what way? Why would you say they're going to struggle? Their bowling is pretty. They've lacked a few bowlers. They've got a few bowlers out. Hassan Ali and obviously Haris Rafa made his debut. Yeah, those players would have made a difference if they had the opportunity. I don't deny that. It's something of a situation there that maybe we could have, seen more evidence of them. Yeah, it's interesting. It really is. There's a lot to be said about the pitch. What about the pitch in Australia versus Pakistan? Okay, it was a good batting play. It wasn't a lot of effort for the bowlers. They didn't bowl reverse swing very well to the Australians. They didn't bowl well at all. They didn't have enough variety in their attack. The spin bowling was just lying. The rest was just, child stuff. It was not much good. But I think you looked at the way that Iftikhar came in the bat and Rizwan, they struggled when they came in. The same thing will happen to the Australians. It won't be all their way. So don't be fooled by that. Don't think that suddenly they're going to have it all their way when they go out to play. It won't be that easy. It'll be a lot harder than you think, for sure. It'll be a lot harder than you think. So we'll wait and see how that develops. But Pakistan were very, very impressive today, I must say. And I feel that they should be very proud of the way they played. There's no doubt that they've got a great side in place. Yeah. So make comments, guys, on the video once I've uploaded it. So I'm trying to upload the Marnus Labuschagne video, but it's not happening for some reason. I'm struggling with that one. It's there to be uploaded, but it's just not allowing me for some second. Let's have a look. Upload video. See if it uploads. I have to do some transfer of that across. Anyway, there we go. Now it's coming up. Now I can see it. Now we've got it coming up. Now it's finally coming up. Be good to hear what Marnus Labuschagne has to say, because he got a wicket and he took a run out. I hope he's not going to claim that he was the difference, because he wasn't. His bowling was bloody ordinary, if you ask me. Batsman. So who can tell me how to spell Marnus Labuschagne? I always get this wrong. Marnus, how do you spell Labuschagne? Is it L-A-U-B, Labuschagne? It looks Labuschagne, as they say. Yes, it's an unusual name. It's obviously has a South African background. So that was post day 2. Gone over, haven't we? And we put Aussie batsman post day 2. Yeah, I mean, what do you think, guys? Why Pakistan's with only 2 paces? Well, I think they've got their act here. They know what they're doing. They know what they're doing. It's their home turf. I think they've chosen well. We'll wait and see how that pans out, but I think they've chosen well. They should actually have a situation where they will probably Marnus Labuschagne. It's difficult to really know what to make of Labuschagne. I don't know. I don't know what you guys think, but I'm not as big a fan of him. I know his record's been pretty good, but I just don't know. There's something not all that right with him. I'm going to post this. This is the video I'm uploading now. Is the 1,067th video that I put up. 717 have been recorded. 350 live. This is the 350th live that I've done, guys. How about that? Pretty impressive. So, yeah, that's it. All right, let's upload this now. Is it Labush? How do you spell his name? Come on, guys, help! Someone tell me the spelling of Labushagne's last name. L-A-B-U. It says that there is no L-A-U. Let me get that right. It's L-A-B-B-U. How do you spell Labuschagna? Okay, let's see. That improve things somewhat. Okay, done. Upload. There we go. It's in the process of being uploaded. All right, guys. So we want Pakistan versus India Test series. So you want that? Yeah, I do too, and I'm of the same opinion as you. I would like to see that happen. I do not know why it doesn't happen. It's an extremely important series for me. It's what Test cricket's all about. You need to have that, incredible. How can you put it? Performance where they can have the best teams in the world play under all circumstances. And I know there are all sorts of issues, but there shouldn't be any issues, quite frankly. I'm just a bit disappointed with that, to be honest. I think there should be no issues whatsoever. They should be able to play that game at the highest of levels and make that the centerpiece of Test cricket. India's afraid of losing. Well, I don't think it's a matter of one team. I think both teams would love to play against each other, to be honest with you. It's great theatre. The fact is that they play each other in World Cups, and we know how incredible that is to watch. And I think we're due to have to see this in Test cricket too. They need to have that regular theatre. They need to have it. They need to have it something very much sooner rather than later, and I believe it will happen. So without World Test Champion final, it's impossible for India to first Pakistan. That's true. Hopefully they may well meet. Pakistan, the way they're playing at the moment, if they beat Australia and India beat Australia as well, it'll push India and Pakistan right up there, and we might see that actually happen. You just don't know. You just don't know, guys. All right, how are we going? So India crowd can't tolerate it. Well, I don't know. It's a matter whether India can't tolerate it or. I don't think that's the case. I think they would love it. They would genuinely love it. I don't think there's any country that would not like to play against each other. That's not true, guys. The rivalry is just enigmatic. We can play it in the short format. Why can't we play it in the long format? Simple as that. Simple as that. All right, guys. So there are no more questions. We have to consider finishing this episode. We've had a good hour and 46 minutes. We've had a great rapport with the group. We've got 20,000 plus viewers. Don't forget to view, like, and share the post. And then hit the subscribe button on Eyes on Cricket with Norman Kochnak and hit the notification button. Also, go to my Twitter and Instagram page at Norman Koch and converse with them if you want to be a guest on the show. You certainly were welcome to put your thoughts forward. Norman Kochnak, of course, is also there on Facebook and LinkedIn. And I'm very proud of the way that we conduct these sessions. They're very open and honest and frank, and we discuss in depth how the day's gone. So yet again, India in ascendancy with some 570-odd runs, with, of course, Sri Lanka at 4 for 100, and they're not in any position to be happy with where they're at. And in the case of course, Pakistan, they're some 4 for 447, I think it was, and they effectively have got Australian bat none for 5, just one over, and there's a lot to be said about that scorecard. What a brilliant situation they're in. They're in a very, very good state of affairs here. I'm very happy with the way Pakistan played this match. Great work, great theatre. It really makes me feel great to know that Test cricket's alive in Pakistan, and players and the crowd get to see, fans get to see Australia play. We'll miss Shane Warne every day in the Australian series. You bet we're going to miss him every day for quite a while. Even Rod Marsh. Go back to Dean Jones. We lost Alan Davidson. We lost Peter Philpott. We lost Ashley Mel. A lot of Australian players have died recently. And Neil Harvey's very close to me. I hope he's doing well. I'm going to give him a call tomorrow to see how he's going, because he has been a pillar of strength for me. That's for sure. Had a pretty good day though, guys. Pretty good day. So what time is it now? It's past midnight, and I can see that Labuschagne video should be up. You can watch this, post this. It's talk about how he feels the day went. Let's see if his video's up yet. Looks, yeah, Manus Labuschagne's video's up. Even Lenny Pascow's videos there. Lenny Pascal actually bowled, had many wickets where Rod Marsh took his wicket too. So that's quite impressive. That's some great theatre there, guys. Great theatre indeed. Very, very good to watch all this that happens with the commentary about ex-players. Always impressed. Good old Shane Warne. There's got a lot of people to like there. Great guy. Superb guy. Really is. Any last words? But Shane Warne and Jones were fit for how both had a heart attack, and even Marsh had a heart attack. Dean Jones definitely had a heart problem. He did suffer from a heart problem, so he was always had that issue. It wasn't just something new. Shane Warne was no knowledge of any heart problem, so it is a bit of a shock. And I think even Rod Marsh, he's 74, he's kicked on very nicely. So, yeah, but 52 for Shane Warne is way, way, way too young. Way, way, way too young. Very, very sad indeed. It disappoints. His cricket is at its best. It certainly is with that Pakistan match. Well, Azhar Ali's innings was Test cricket masterclass. Absolute Test cricket masterclass. Absolute Test cricket masterclass. There's no fear that we had a great performance there from him. Very, very impressive indeed. It was 185. We know he can score 300. He has scored 300 for his country. Anderson in UK and Ashwin in India, it's very difficult to face them. Anderson in UK was certainly good. He's bound to come back for the summer series at home. Ashwin at home certainly is hard to play. So is probably Shane Warne anywhere in the world when he was bowling. He didn't have an issue with where he bowled. There was no concern whether he played in. He was a great bowler. 708 Test wickets. You can't do better than that, can you? It's pretty damn good, let's be honest. All right, guys, we might wrap the show up. Now, there's 75 people that are online, 82 people are online, I should say. View, like, and share my posts. Subscribe. Hit that subscribe button. Let me see evidence that I want to see the subscribe buttons go up. I want to see, I need to prove my worth with you guys, and let's hope that we can do that. It's something of a great achievement to be able to provide you with the service on a daily basis. I really like it. India will beat Sri Lanka, yes, and Pakistan versus England will be a draw. It's a pretty reasonable summation, although I tend to hope that Pakistan can win this match. They're in a position where they they're not exactly out of it by any means. They're certainly Manas Labuschagne, if I got it right. Yes. So sad about Shane. But I'm scared to go to bed because I don't want to wake up and hear another person's died. It's a bit like that at the moment, isn't it? It's certainly very sad, guys. Guys, stay tuned. We'll get some pre and post show discussions going on for the match that we're looking at. Mars Labuschagne will be an interesting interview to watch too, so there'll be something to talk about. See if there's any more stuff here. I'm happy with this button not saving. All right, well, so sad about Canada. It is still one of the saddest things I've ever come across. Is Shane Warne dying so young, 52. Geez, I don't want to be thinking about dying at 52. Australia should maintain healthy run rate and batting power. They'll need to do something, won't they? Why is this not saving? Any more questions, guys? Sunday the 6th of March. Are we going to see anyone else passing? I bloody well hope not. Do not want to have any more people passing. It's something that really annoys me is that things like that happen. So, okay, what have we got here? And all of the best for India and Pakistan. Exactly, I agree. After the retirement of McGrath and Warne, Australia have not performed well in some contexts, especially in red ball cricket. It's true. That's true. They've had that pairing was a great pairing. They knew how to bowl together in town. And that's what Australia probably lacks today. It's a very good point. Maybe that's what Australia lacks. They didn't really get their act together. No one really supported Lyon enough. They needed another bowler, a spin bowler that is, to actually support him on that end, and they didn't have that. That's really, really annoying. It is. Sadfiq Bakari, I can see you've been around for a while. He's been involved with the show very often. So, what are we going? That's gone to 18,000. It's gone up to. All right, guys. Let's say we'll call again. So, view, like, and share. Subscribe, notifications. Norm Koch for Twitter and Instagram. We'll talk more tomorrow. I'm leaving 70 of you without someone to talk to. Robert declared such Judge Asian on 125 was tournament was missed. Well, yeah, but he was also he shouldn't have got anywhere near 125 in the first place. He did enough to get 100, really. Australia lost 3 tests in UAE. Yeah, Australia are going to find it hard. They're going to find it hard. Don't worry. It's not going to be easy here at all. It's not going to be easy at all in this series. You bet. Okay, guys, but why Shane Warne was in Thailand? Good question. He was on his way to England to be a commentator there for the summer series and the 100 and what have you. Decided to break in between, which is fair enough. He brought some of his mates. It was a mates' weekend away. I'm sure he would have had a few drinks, too many. Untitled, it's an in-between spot between there and here in England, Australia and England. So that's why they did that. So, yeah, it's interesting to say the least. So 11, 12. All right. Okay, guys. If more people are coming on, why Shane Warne? Why Shane Warne? Yeah, the question is why Shane Warne? Why would we lose such an amazing person? It is. He was really good for cricket. He slept around. He cheated on his wife, but I'm sure that I can tell you quite a few other cricketers have done the same thing. Even Gene Jones had a child of wedlock. I mean, that's his personal life. I don't think that really relates to anything that we would having to do with. So there's a Marnus Labuschagne interview there, guys. Let's just come on. Subscribe away, guys. I want you to subscribe away. Get me up there, numbers. 24,247. Okay, so that's why alcohol is prohibited in Islam. Yeah, I kind of sympathise with you on that one. It certainly can lead to some problems, and not we're saying that the alcohol killed Shane Warne, but he certainly was excessive with his lifestyle. That's for sure. All right. So Marnus Labuschagne is his name. Labuschagne, and we say like champagne. But yeah, he has proven to be a pretty talented batsman. But I want to see him succeed in the subcontinent now, and that's where he bowled okay today. No, I'll take that back. He didn't bowl well. He got a wicket off a cheap delivery that didn't deserve what it got. So no, I wouldn't agree with him being necessarily a good bowler. He thinks he is, but that's not really the case at all. So that's why. Okay, so all right, guys. Any more questions before we go? Out of the 3 top spinners, 2 are from Asia and Australia. This makes Warne special, as because he came from a place where spinners are not effective compared to Australia. Exactly. Bill O'Reilly was a famous spinner that was around at Bradman's time, and he certainly looked up to what Warne did. Warne was very exceptional. Michael Clark, Dave Warner, Steve Smith, they go on, even Glenn Maxwell, Aaron Finch, they all adored Zampa, they all adored Shane Warne. And that says a lot. So look here. Yeah, it's quite a remarkable achievement. Okay, so the real test of Mars is against spin in India. Exactly. We'll see how he goes. Just Aussies give up on drinking after any mental. Well, Will Bukowski's one that's had enough rehab with his concussion, and I would imagine he wouldn't go near alcohol. Oh, yes, certainly. Yeah, mental rehabilitation is a very, very important process for everyone to take on. You need to say to your friends, "Are you okay?" Because they may not be. They may be hiding their true feelings, and that's one of the issues that we certainly do have. We got another 7 minutes to go there. It's a very strong counts there of the night. This has been a wonderful discussion. Any more questions, guys? Please ask me questions. The real test for Mars Labuschagne will be in India. It'll start with Pakistan, as a matter of fact. We'll see how he goes there. He certainly is a player that has had a good run, but he needs to have some failures, as did Shane Warne in his early days. He was an AFL player, became a cricketer. Ricky Ponting had fights in pubs. He was on the outer, came back in. Even Steve and Mark Waugh had times when they were dropped. You need to go through these periods, I think, as a player. Definitely. All right, guys. So, due to lack of spinners in Australia, do you think the reason why Australia not being able to perform at the Stockholm? Oh, absolutely. They need good spinners. They need good batters against spin. They need to have practice there. Joe Root's a good example. He practiced a lot on the spinning wickets of Sri Lanka and excelled, even in India. Hasn't done that well in Australia, but he hasn't probably got enough exposure to Australia, which is part of the problem. Part of the problem. All right, guys. We might call which team will win the T20 World Cup in Australia. Great question, White Rose. I don't think it's going to be Australia. I'm thinking a subcontinent scene where India or Pakistan will be up there. Why not Australia? Well, they won a World Cup just recently, didn't they? But they, at home, doing it 2 years in a row would be a bit of a big ask. If they did do that, that'd be quite incredible. But no, I don't think they're going to do that. No, I don't think they're going to do that. All right, guys. View, like, and share the post. Subscribe. I'm going now. We've had 2 hours plus of great discussion. We had Mosen Khan, Sheikh, not Mosen Sheikh, not Khan, Mosen Sheikh on earlier. He did a great job. He was certainly someone who provides with a lot of interesting facts. His experience is amazing. Do you realise he was the coach of the under-19 Pakistan as well? Do you realise he's been with the Sydney Sixers, the Thunder, the Queensland team, a lot of other teams around Australia? He's very, very well versed on a lot of the things that need to be done. He's got a great level 3 coach, and he's very close to the guys like Usman Khawaja and a number of the Queensland players who are playing for Australia at Renshaw as well. Very close to Harris Ralph, a number of the Pakistan team like Salim Malik and even Asar Ali. They're all great friends of his. So, it's very, very impressive indeed that he was on the show. He's been able to provide us with a lot of insights. Now we're going to beat this here. Okay. So, do you remember? But Australian conditions should suit them. Well, you'd think so. That doesn't mean they're going to win the World Cup, though. Do you remember Warne's spin against South Africa to Herschel Gibbs and obviously Darryl Cullinane in the 19 semi-final World Cup? That was also a nice delivery, as it was. Mosen Sheikh, Australian. Mosen Sheikh is Pakistani born, Pakistani brought up, but he has lived in Australia most of his life. So he's very much a part of the Australian makeup. He knows exactly what's going on there. Yeah, he's a great guy, very knowledgeable indeed. Australia should have played more spinners. Agree, Atia Rai. Absolutely. Norman, have you played sports? Q7 cricket. I used to look to the team, and Shane Warne always took more than 5 wickets in a match. Oh, of course, he was a legend when it came to that type of thing. Okay, we have knocked it off. Okay. All right, guys, I've got to go. It's time to go. We've gone well over 2 hours now. Great questions. Stay tuned. There's 70 odd people that are still watching. View, like, and share, and make sure you subscribe. Hit the notification button. Show me evidence that you're doing that, and we can then see each other on the other side in the preview for tomorrow's match. All the best, guys. Take care. We'll speak very, very soon indeed. Not forgetting that the hour is virtually up. At 17,000 an hour. That's very good. Back in 2007, sports was my best cricket game. Okay. Are you in Pakistan? I will be. Is Ashwin home track bully? No. He's a good bowler, that's for sure. I will be in Pakistan for the Lahore match if everything goes to plan. All right. Got another minute to go and we'll be done. Well, 18,000. I'm going to make that this out. All right, guys. Will you cover the IPL? Yes, I will cover some of the IPL and with Rev Sports as well. I'm covering with them both together, so that's going to be a combination of things to do. All right, guys, got to go. All the best. View, like, and share the post, subscribe, notification button. Eyes on cricket with Norman Cossack. See each other tomorrow.